Hello and welcome to the Deep Dive. So glad you're joining us today. We're here to cut through those complex tech concepts, really zero in on the essential insights. Today we're diving into something really fundamental in modern software development. It impacts almost every app you use, probably without you even realizing it. It's called profiles and environment-based configuration. Sounds technical, but think of it like a secret superpower for developers.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about giving software this crucial adaptability, which, with the speed and scale of today's digital world, it's just indispensable. It's how one single application can kind of adjust its behavior almost intelligently based on where it's running. It's a real game changer.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. So imagine an online store app. That same app has to act totally differently if a developer is testing it on their laptop versus, say, when it's live handling real money, right? How does one piece of software manage that switch? Is it like having different built-in modes?
You've absolutely nailed it. It is about enabling those different modes or maybe personalities for the app.
Yeah.
So when we talk about profiles, we mean exactly that.
Yeah.
Distinct modes, like you'd have a development profile for when you're building stuff, a production profile for the live site,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a testing profile for, quality checks.
Okay.
And each profile has its own settings. So development might connect to a simple test database locally.
Yeah.
But production, that switches automatically to the real heavy-duty database.
Gotcha.
Then there's environment-based configuration. It's kind of the broader idea. It means adjusting settings based on where the app is actually running your laptop, a testing server, the cloud, whatever. This controls things like, database connections, but also how much detail gets logged, security rules, all that stuff. It's a bit like a smart thermostat,
Yeah.
Set it to away mode, and it changes its behavior. Same idea for the app.
So how does that switching, how does it actually work? I mean,
Right.
under the hood. Sounds complex.
Well, the clever part is how settings are managed.
Mm-hmm.
Developers don't they don't hard code things like a database password directly into the main application code anymore. That used to be common. Instead, these settings, they live separately in configuration files or maybe as environment variables.
Yeah. Okay. Separate it out.
Exactly. So when the app starts up, it asks itself sort of, okay, where am I running? Am I in development or production?
Mm-hmm.
And then it just loads the settings for that specific situation. So development, it grabs the local test database info, production. It knows to connect to the secure live database. And thankfully, lots of modern tools like Spring Boot, for example, make this pretty easy to set up. They handle a lot of the mechanics.
Okay, that makes sense. So we get the what and the how, but why? What huge problem did this actually solve for developers? What was the nightmare before this?
Oh, the nightmare was how brittle software used to be. I mean, imagine having to manually change bits of your code every single time you move the app from testing to live. Just because, a database address was different. It wasn't just tedious. It was asking for trouble, errors all the time.
Yeah.
Profiles gave us real adaptability. That's the superpower. One code base, many environments.
Adaptability, right?
And beyond that, it tackled several key headaches. First, flexibility. Like we said, the same app works in different scenarios without code changes. Think of a banking app needs fake data for testing, real data for live users. Profiles handle that switch seamlessly.
So it makes testing much safer then. Is that a big part of it?
Precisely. It simplifies development and testing massively. Developers can work in a safe bubble, test features with simplified settings, maybe fake payment systems, so there's zero risk of messing up live customer data. That's a huge relief. Then there's easier maintenance. Need to update, say, an API key or where logs go. You just change a config file, not the application code itself. Fewer errors, saves tons of time. And finally, scalability. Apps grow, right? They end up running on multiple servers, maybe different cloud setups, environment configuration, make sure the app just adapts, different memory limits, different database types. It just works.
That really paints a clear picture, but let's step back for a sec. You mentioned hard coding earlier. What were the specific risks there? Like when developers had those settings baked right into the code?
Oh, the risks were very real. I mean, before profiles became standard practice, database addresses, API keys, all sorts of sensitive stuff was just written directly in the code. So every single time you needed to change one for testing, for going live, you had to dig through the code manually. I remember projects where updating one simple setting meant hunting through dozens of files. It was incredibly error-prone. Miss one, boom, broken application.
Yeah.
Honestly, developers still get chills thinking about those days.
So profiles are like a super-powered find and replace for the app's whole context, preventing those, those hair-pulling moments.
That's a pretty good analogy. And it ties right into the testing risks. If your test environment accidentally used production settings because they were hard-coded or manually changed incorrectly, well, you could actually modify or delete live customer data during a test run.
Terrifying.
Then there was deployment complexity. Moving the app from a developer's machine to a live server was this manual checklist nightmare. Easy to forget a step, easy to make a typo, which led to inconsistency across environments. The app worked fine on your machine but crashed in testing or production. Why? Because the settings weren't managed cleanly. Big headaches.
Okay, so summarizing that bit profiles and environment-based configuration fix this by basically drawing a clear line. Settings over here, core app logic over there.
Exactly. That separation is key. Now, developers can switch environments, dev, test, staging, production, just by changing a profile setting or an environment variable. Cuts down errors massively and makes deploying software much, much smoother and more reliable.
So fast forward to today, 2025. Why isn't this just a nice to have? Why is it critical now?
It's critical because the whole software landscape has shifted. Think about the huge cloud computing boom. Most apps now live on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, you name it. Each cloud setup has its own quirks, right? Different server options, security rules, environment configuration. Let your app just slot right in, adapt to whatever that specific cloud environment needs. No code rewrites needed.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, microservices architecture. So many big apps today aren't one giant program anymore. They're broken down into lots of small independent services. Think Netflix or Amazon. Hundreds, maybe thousands of tiny pieces working together. Each little microservice might need slightly different settings. Profiles make managing that complexity, well, manageable.
Right, like each piece has its own little config file.
Pretty much. Third, just the sheer speed needed today. Rapid development needs. Businesses have to push updates and new features constantly. Profiles let teams test and deploy way faster because switching settings is instant. No code changes means faster cycles.
Keeps things moving.
Fourth is the whole DevOps and automation movement. Modern development pipelines rely heavily on automating everything: build, test, deploy. Environment-based configuration gives automation a standard way to handle settings consistently across all stages. Developer laptop to production, it's the same mechanism.
Consistency is key there.
Absolutely. And finally, security and compliance. This is huge now. Data privacy, regulations. You need super secure settings in production encrypted databases, strict access, etc. Profiles guarantee those high security settings are only used live, not during testing, where things might be less locked down. Reduces risk significantly.
Okay, this is great context. Now, for someone listening, maybe curious about how software gets built or even learning to code, how does understanding this make development feel less, I don't know, intimidating? Like, take a simple project building a blog app. How does this help?
Oh, absolutely. It simplifies things enormously, even for beginners. So you're building that blog app on your own computer. You just use a development profile. It tells your app, okay, just use this simple basic database I installed locally. Easy setup, no fuss. Lets you focus on building the blog features. Then, when you think, okay, I want to put this online, you just switch the app to use a production profile. Suddenly, without you changing any of your blog's code, the app knows to connect to the real, powerful, secure database you've set up on your web server. It removes a whole layer of complexity and potential errors when going live.
And we see this pattern everywhere, right? In the big apps we use daily.
Everywhere. An e-commerce site like Amazon. You bet they use profiles extensively. Testing a new checkout flow. They'll run it against a profile using fake products and test credit cards. Zero risk to real orders. Streaming services like Netflix. Their whole global infrastructure relies on this, managing countless microservices across data centers worldwide. Environment configuration is essential to make sure the right service connects to the right resources wherever it's running. Even startups, a small team building, say a new food delivery app. They can use profiles to test drive new features safely in a staging environment that mimics production, then flip the switch to production quickly to launch. It levels the playing field a bit.
So really, by getting your head around this concept, you're learning a technique used by literally every major tech company. It helps build reliable software, and it's a skill employers look for.
Absolutely. So if we boil it down, profiles and environment-based configuration are these foundational tools. They give modern software its flexibility, its security, its ability to scale. It's fundamentally about designing software that can intelligently adapt to wherever it finds itself.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. All right, here's something to think about as we wrap up. Consider the apps you use every single day. Your banking app, the streaming service, your online shopping. How might this hidden concept profiles environment settings be quietly working behind the scenes to make sure that app just works for you exactly as expected, no matter what? What other fundamental, maybe invisible tech concepts are shaping our digital world? Lots to think about. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today.